regularly voted #1 comedy of all time involving Latin grammar. And number 55 is Life of Brian. Welcome to Long Play Video. Well, welcome into the shop. As ever, we're going through my 100 favorite films. We are on number 55. 55. Who thought we'd get here? Not me.
No one. No.
Several people have actually asked Payets to not get any further.
Yeah, to stop.
But number 55 for a special one, just to get the shop a bit more buzzing and to maybe appeal to the youth. We've brought in some work experience, someone to do some work experience, just to offer a different view on the film. So here he is now. It's Freddie who's come back in.
Hi, yeah. Me again, I guess for work experience.
These shiny things are DVDs.
We pay really badly, unfortunately. Let's not that. And he's not making the most in the shop. So the salaries are the best.
For every podcast, we split the profits neatly. 40%, 20 or something.
I don't see this experience being something people seek on my CV, really, but
I mean, maybe it goes on your LinkedIn. Who knows? This is,
you never know.
So yeah, welcome back. Obviously, it's been a while since we walked a lot in the Shire and Riverpell.
Full.
Just all by yourself, and bringing a film back this time.
It'll be Spiderman 3 with Tobey Maguire's actually. They're
Wow.
but they're on in the cinema, so that's where I actually watched that.
Wow, Spider-Man 3, the one with the dancing.
Yes, exactly that one.
Old Venom.
Eddie Brock.
Oh yeah. Is that the one where there are like 3 villains?
Yeah. Well, yeah, 3 villains and then one joins his team.
Yeah.
So we've been watching those, so that's my film.
Who's your favourite Spider-Man then, Freddie? What's your order?
Woody, who we lost in the forest walking here, because he couldn't keep up.
You got to sacrifice someone.
Yeah, his is Tobey Maguire. Having just watched all 3 of his, I think the argument always is that he's a good Peter Parker, because he's just very awkward.
Yeah.
And his Spider-Man's okay, but I think Tom Holland's quite good. And I actually haven't ever seen the second Andrew Garfield one, so when we get to that'll be quite interesting. So Tom Holland's probably my favourite, just the process of elimination.
What about you, Andy?
I'm not a massive Spider-Man fan, to be honest with you.
Look, you can never just play the game, can you? You've always got to put a spanner in the works.
Just got to get that.
Like the comic version from 19.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the 74 to 78 run by Jeremy Ditko was definitely the best. I would say Andrew Garfield appears as the highest up the list. I like Andrew Garfield and I rate him as an actor. I think he's always really good.
Okay.
I definitely haven't watched all of the Tom Hollands. I only watched the last one a little while ago. I think maybe even on a plane. Yeah. How about you?
I think it has to be Tom Holland. Tom Holland is very good. He gets that balance right. I think, to your point, Freddie, like Tobey Maguire is very good at Peter Parker, but it just doesn't seem, it just don't feel like he's, it doesn't feel like he's Spider-Man. And I do really like Andrew Garfield, but I think Tom Holland's just added a little bit extra to it since he's come along.
Well, you get all the Tobey Maguire fans on your Twitter now, so
oh yeah,
none of us
I don't think they're on Twitter. they'll be writing a strongly worded letter to the Daily Mail, and Kev can see if he ignores it or not. But rather fittingly, now for something completely different.
Nice.
So we go into number
Very
55 on the list. Life of Brian, the Monty Python film. Really interested to know, Freddie, what do you bring to this film? What do you know about Monty Python? What do you know about Life of Brian?
Absolutely nothing. I had no idea about the film. I've heard of Monty Python, but I couldn't tell you a single fact. Dad's definitely mentioned him in some format before. I'm completely blank on this entire film.
What are you expecting though? Like what type of film, or where's your expectations? Would you say as you go into it, if it was like something really, really weird, like would you be like, oh, I was expecting?
Well, I mean, first of all, you recommended it, so I have it could mean anything.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but the way to me it sounds, and again, I don't know Monty Python what he normally does or whatever. So to me, for some reason, it sounds like it's going to be a romance film. So
yeah, I mean, the odds are on that. You know, I mean, it's on Andy's list.
That's so not true.
There's every chance. There's so many romance films on your list. Not even rom-coms, romance. I'm just like, just full out romance.
I mean, there's a bit of everything in this film. Obviously, it's the greatest story ever told. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, yeah, okay, that's interesting. So this film, it came out in 1979, shortly before I was born. Actually, only one of 9 films on the list from before I was born, which is funny because I always have a go maybe at some younger people that they haven't seen films from before they were born, because obviously there's a lot of classics. But I thought that was interesting. There's only actually 9 on my list from before I was born. I did expect there to be more.
Should we redo the list? So start this podcast again? Or
well, I think the 70s, for anyone who's into gangster movies or like Quentin Tarantino or anything like the 70s basically is just the decade of those films. I'm not a massive fan of that genre, but like anyone
we just covered
who likes, like Goodfellas, like there's, I mean, I presume that in season 2 we'll spend a good 20 films in the 70s for you, Kev, so it'll be fine.
Man, there's going to be a lot. It's going to be a really strange ride. It's going to be switching between gangster films and just children's animation films. So it's going to be very, very surreal.
And then for you, Kev, it's difficult, isn't it? You think we don't want too many spoilers, but
which is good. With my memory, that normally helps.
But we do have a podcast to make. So what does it mean to you? Like, what do you must have seen it, I presume.
I have seen it, yes, and obviously I know who Monty Python are. I was never a massive Monty Python fan as such. Like, a lot of people really got into them and were big fans of them. I wouldn't say that I was necessarily a huge fan, but I have seen this film, and I remember being very quirky. I think I was a bigger fan of is it the Holy Grail? The Holy Grail's the other film they do.
Yeah, the other one.
I think that was the one that I preferred more. So it'll be interesting to see what this one is like. Obviously, I know the content and what it's about, and so it's good. I mean, just honestly, really, like it's. I think of all the ones on the list, this will be strange, but it's just strange, normal strange, not Andy strange. So
that's a good start for me then.
It's just a bit bizarre, but not like, oh my god, why am I watching another Andy film, which we had last week. But
it's funny because I would say almost like Monty Python to us, this is going to be controversial, is kind of what probably the Big Bang is to Freddie. Like it is like sort of it was what geeky humor was, and like the sort of the more geeky people liked Monty Python back in the day. That was sort of the alternative that has now almost become the
to confirm, the Big Bang Theory, the TV show, rather than the Big Bang that created the universe. Because I think that's kind of the same for all of us.
This is basically the beginning of.
We're
all
not that old, Freddie. We may look it, but we're not.
The 80s is just a haze. These youngsters.
I mean,
like...
honestly, don't watch anything before the 80s. There's no point. I think that's a really good comparison, actually. Yeah, are you a big Bang Theory fan, Freddie?
Yeah.
TV show,
TV show. Yeah, I am quite a fan of life and stuff. It's quite good. So yeah. Me, my brother, and my dad have watched it, all of it. So, and if it's on, it's just a nice background. It's probably compared to a lot of people will probably pick like Friends and stuff. The Big Bangs are a sitcom that we have on in the background.
Do you guys like quote it and that when you guys are together?
probably. There's
Yeah.
definitely certain, there's a specific Star Wars scene that my dad loves.
Yeah.
That comes up quite a lot.
I'll be
Or
keen. It'll be
Waj,
interesting.
as we call him.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to laugh at this and pretend that I know. I've not seen Big Bang, so I have no idea what's going on. But I'll be really interested to see after you watch this if you drop any lines with your dad, you'll be like, I'm really impressed you've seen this film, and you're like,
well, I think I was actually talking to your dad about this, and he said one of his friends had watched it with his kids who were I think about 14 or 15, and they didn't like it at all. And then they went away to university, and they came back from university sort of 3 years later and actually dropped one of the lines from the film. And he was like, wait a minute, that's from Life of Brian. And he's like, oh yeah, we watched it a few times, and actually it's quite funny. So, I mean, as far as, well, I'd be interested, it'd be interesting actually to know whether you do almost know some of the lines, and a bit like Lord of the Rings, where you're like, oh, that's where that's from, is it? Okay. Yeah. And like, it's because there are some, there were some very, very well-known lines in this.
Yeah.
Well, I said, Dad, me and Dad aren't going to talk about it until he watches the podcast. We were going to watch the film together, but he's also lost walking.
He's gone back for Woody.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So yeah,
brilliant. We've upgraded to the best, basically. All we need to do now is get rid of Andy, and we just have the best Chandlers in.
But yeah, no, I think, I mean, we definitely grew up with Monty Python, like being.
Were you a big fan then?
Yeah, it was definitely part of sort of growing up. I think, again, because I'm the youngest, I probably wasn't in the sort of the heyday of it as much. I didn't really understand it, and sort of came to it a little bit later, but it was just a part of the sort of the family, and like the references and stuff like that. And even now I would say there's probably not that much that when sort of the family is together that we have as a common reference, but actually Monty Python still is. And I think even like the last time that I was with my dad and both of my brothers, I think that a line from this came up and everyone laughed, and it is still probably one of the touchstone references that we have from growing up, because again it was just that little bit different, and without too much satire, without too much spoilers. Actually,
that was a spoiler in itself, but thanks.
Like actually this was, I grew up in quite a religious house, but this film was never sort of frowned upon, or was never thought of as anything other than I think what it's intended to be. Not heretical as I think they prefer to think of it as. So it's not like it's a bit of a funny one that my dad is quite religious in a Church of England type way, but actually this was always just kind of part of it. We'd always watched it. I think it'll be interesting afterwards that we can have kind of that debate about what it means and whether it where it sits.
When was the last time you saw it? How long ago?
It's quite a while ago, I would sort of say, because it's one of those things that as soon as it's on, you just remember all of it. And I think I could probably, if you played the first almost 5 seconds of each scene, I think I could probably get like 80% of the scene. I could do just off memory. So it's kind of one of those films where you can watch it, but I've seen it so many times that you're just kind of like, okay, but I know exactly what everyone's going to say. And there are still funny bits. There are still bits that make me laugh. But I think I'll be really interested watching it, obviously, with a bit more of a critical eye, as we tend to for the pod. But also, for the first time in, I don't know, probably like 20 years that I would have actually sort of sat down to watch it.
Well, it sounds like you're now that we're becoming super famous for this podcast, that you're kind of pushing out some ideas of you doing a one-man band in the West End of Life of Brian, similar to what Patrick Stewart has done. You're in that sort of ilk, so I could see that.
Just go to all of the characters. There's a lot of
dress up.
There's a lot of characters played by 4 people in this movie.
That's true.
So
it is. I think that's the thing. This would be the interesting thing, I guess for you, Freddie, and that's why, like you were saying, Andy, is so when we were growing up, we only had 4 channels, and so Monty Python, or I mean, obviously you're going to watch it, so it's more of a comedy sketch, and they would always be on BBC One, and you'd often just watch BBC One, and there was only 4 channels, so it's either that or something else that was terrible on the other channels. So their exposure was always super high. Like the chances of you seeing them was so high. Whereas I think like now it's much more difficult. Something like this might just, could potentially fall by the wayside unless it got like it became viral on social media. Whereas, everyone just watched it, right? And then it was just, you either liked it or didn't like it. So even if you didn't like it, when you're at school, you'd talk about it. You'd be like, oh yeah, did you watch it? Oh yeah, I didn't like that scene, but I like that one. So everyone would have watched it regardless of what happened. So it's going to be interesting, I think, Andy, to see what we think about it now that we're watching it now in the current world versus, what we were used to back in the day in the challenging times of 4 channels.
Yeah. But although I do think Monty Python especially they're almost designed for like a viral world, and I think actually would survive way more than a lot of other things, because obviously every sketch was just so, I mean, completely different. So just to get the reference, during the TV show, Freddie, so they did a sketch show as well, Monty Python. They're like a troupe of comedians, and they would do a sketch, and then they would cut to basically someone sort of being like a news presenter, and he would always say, and now for something completely different, and the next sketch would literally have nothing to do with the sketch before, and they were all just completely different. Which is why I keep saying it accidentally, because it's just on my brain. But I do think like the sketches themselves, there was a lot of sort of build up, but then there was usually sort of a punchline that was only like 10 seconds long. And I think actually you could now bring out Monty Python, because I do actually think a lot of the humor, and it'll be interesting to see how much it stands out, but I think a lot of the humor is kind of timeless and is funny, because I think the themes that they're sort of poking fun at are just as relevant today as they were in sort of the 70s and 80s when they were around. So I do actually think that, weirdly, I think like in the TikTok generation, I think actually Monty Python and their style of narrative would actually really stand up, because it's not like there's like an hour setup and then something. Like it moves quickly. There's always a gag going on. It'll be, I mean, sort of, the obviously comparison would be to like Airplane, but I think even with Airplane, that was kind of mimicking almost Monty Python of like, okay, we'll make sure that there's, a scene with a gag after a gag after a gag, and Monty Python had been doing that for years.
I'm not too hopeful. If Uncle Andrew finds it funny and Dad finds it funny, I don't know. Either if I find it funny, then I've gotten too old. So I'm a bit worried, because
I'm with you, Freddie. I don't find it funny either.
Oh,
these old guys. I don't know.
You're trying to. There's a revolt in the shop. You're trying to say, let's get these old guys out. Now, but that's the thing. Like really... back in the day, I think there was that thing of like you would discover almost sort of the things that had gone before that were funny. And I think of Monty Python, but I also think of sort of Spike Milligan and the Goon Show and stuff, which was probably the things for us that had happened sort of early 70s. And, I didn't know about them. They were way before my time. But then you would just sort of discover them. You'd read a book or you'd sort of see something from Spike Milligan somewhere else. And then you'd sort of dig a bit deeper for that. So, I do think
to Freddie's point then, what do you think did you find Spike Milligan funny?
In bits.
Yeah. So that doesn't bode well, Freddie. Sounds like you're not going to find this funny.
Yeah. Well, I think
what's the runtime, Andy?
It's hour 34. Very short.
You've got away so easy. Some of the filth I've had.
One of the easy films.
But the next one is the next one for Freddie's Two Towers. That's like 7 hours. So. But and then just interesting you say about Holy Grail, Kev. I think I would always have, and let's just be clear, this isn't like a small hidden gem. This has been voted the best comedy film like over and over again. I think there's been so many times that it's been voted best ever comedy. So let's not pretend that I've just I don't know I've found this small film,
not.
these Monty Python guys. But yeah, I definitely want to. I would definitely have to have a Monty Python film on the list somewhere, because it was so sort of ubiquitous growing up. And I think for this one, there's just a bit more to it than Holy Grail. I do think Holy Grail is very funny. Again, I think Holy Grail is less coherent as a film. I think it feels more like sketch by sketch, and then obviously Meaning of Life that comes after this is just sketches and is just very, very weird.
So, do you know any of the people that are in it at all, Freddie? Do you know?
I literally not a single clue, and I was like, should I look into this before I go into, and Dad was like, just go in blind. I have not a single clue.
So let's name some of them and see if you've heard of them. So John Cleese.
In fairness, I'm not good with actor names, but I don't recognize the name.
Okay.
Have you seen 40 Towers? You should definitely watch that. That is good.
Did you watch GB?
Is it on the list?
I think that's right.
It's on Andy's TV list.
Michael Palin.
No.
Yeah, you see, that's even probably in the 90s, because all the travel programs that he did. And then Eric Idle.
You wouldn't know anyone else.
Okay. No, that's interesting. No,
Is there any free actors? Is this a free actor film?
Well, there's also Terry Gilliam, Terry Jones, and Graham Chapman, but I know that you won't know any of those.
It's getting a bit just 3 people in this movie.
Yeah, there's 6 actors who play probably
everyone.
40 different people between them in it. And so I think you would know who John Cleese was. I think if you saw a picture, you'd probably recognize him, because he is about. I mean, he's on a lot of media at the moment complaining that he's poor, apparently. But
are you kidding me?
Yeah, no, apparently he sort of says that they didn't actually make that much money, and all of the rights and stuff were.
That's really shame. You got to make a living out just doing comedy. I feel so hard for you. People in the UK must really feel for you when they're trying to do 2 jobs at once. Why don't you go and clean some bins out? Come back to me.
We'll invite him on for the second half. He's probably just outside looking.
What's happened to people? Why have people become so elitist and entitled? Like, just go away.
What, the guy, the Cambridge educated?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You've had a tough life, mate. Yeah, sorry.
Okay. Well, yeah. With that, we won't talk too much about what the film is. I didn't bother with the DVD cover, because it literally just says Life of Brian on it, and that's it. So it's not even worth handing over the DVD. But we'll put it on, because I want you to go in as unknowing as possible, because I think that will be funny. So
great.
we can put it on.
Prepare your notes. I feel you're gonna have a lot.
Remember to take notes when you're scratching your head. It'll be good. Kev, me and you, we can go into the predictions room.
Wow.
If you want.
I get back into this room again.
You're allowed in.
Wow.
Honestly, Freddie.
I've heard. I listened to you got let in on a prediction about yourself on Gifted or whatever it was.
I was trying to force him out. He just
wouldn't leave.
It felt a lot more like Clockwork Orange to me, to be honest, than a prediction.
Classic film. Gifted, not Clockwork Orange. Okay, we'll go and have a chat, and then we'll see you after the credits roll. So we'll just ease ourselves into the lazy boys.
Wow. This place has got better. Yeah.
Let me just turn
What's
off
this little robot do?
The disco ball.
Skin. Yeah. Why have you got a full AI computer screen in here? This all looks great.
This is I watch on the 76-inch plasma 4K 4K screen. I just sneak in here when once I turn it on in the shop. So I think we did well to avoid as many spoilers as possible.
Yeah,
because obviously in the first 10 minutes, he's just going to be like, what the hell is this? To go from and there's going to be spoilers here, so plug your ears if you've not seen it, but to go from the nativity scene into the credits, which are just bizarre, because they're obviously Monty Python cartoon credits, to then go into, I think I think the first scene is the stoning scene, which again is hilarious, but is just so bizarre.
It
I
is
think, yeah.
random.
I think if he manages to catch up, then I think he'll find it quite funny. But frankly,
Yeah.
again, there's no explanation about what's going on.
No.
And so not knowing anything about Monty Python, he's
Yeah.
obviously, if weird isn't one of the words he uses at the start, then I
Yeah.
think he's maybe watched the wrong film because it is weird. So
Yeah, and I think you're right. That's a very good point, is that we have that sort of background knowledge of having seen Monty Python before you see the film. So you have all
yeah.
that, connected with you before you even watch it. So you're like, oh yeah, I expect this is going to be weird. And oh, they've done some little small sketch. I get that. Whereas he's just going to be like, what is this? Why did people watch this? Why was this one of the best comedy films of all time? What happened in history? Yeah, I think he's going to hate it. I think he's going to really struggle.
I think a little bit like you for some of the films. I think as we go through it and we sort of talk about some of the comedy lines and stuff, and then he'll be like, "Oh yeah, that was funny," or like there's a few. I think for me, there's like a few scenes where you just think these will stand up almost as mini sketches. Like the what have the Romans ever done for us? I think is just that's just a funny scene, right? It's almost a chance to get your breath back. Obviously, it'll be interesting to see all of sort of the religious side of it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I actually think it will really stand up to a rewatch, because I think it's interesting. We'll talk about it afterwards, but I think the main point of the film and the comedy is etched on a point that is very salient today as it was back in the sort of late 70s and early 80s. So we'll see about that.
That's one of the great things you can rely on for religion, that it doesn't really evolve, and you can still poke fun at it all the time.
Well, this will be an interesting one. But I think he's.
You think he's not going to like him?
I think he's going to think that there's funny bits, but I'm not sure anyone on their first watch of Life of Brian is like, that is hilarious and I completely get it and that's a great film, right? It is a film that you have to. I mean, again, I don't remember the first time I watched this. Like, I grew up with it, so that then almost as you get old enough to appreciate each joke, he's still quite young. Maybe you'll appreciate it. No. But that's the thing. Like, you have to watch it, I think, multiple times to get it, because on the first watch, we're just, it's just so bizarre that I think it'll just be like, what on earth was that?
Can you just remind him of this when, after he's watched it once, and just be like, no. You just need to watch it a bit more, and then you're really going to enjoy it. Just give it a bit of time.
It does. It goes back to what you were saying, though. Like, the fact is that this would always be, this one wasn't on TV because obviously it was banned in a whole bunch of places. But like, other Monty Python was just on TV all the time. So almost you were just exposed to it over and over again. And then I think as you got older and you kind of you knew that it was going to be weird, then you started almost concentrating more on the jokes, and so then you got the jokes, and so then it did become funny. And I think with all of it, I mean, it's exactly the same as Serenity. It's all about the repeat watches.
Don't try and bring that terrible film into this.
I'm going to actually lock the door in the predictions when we're going to sit here and watch Serenity. Freddie's going to be banging on the door. Are we going to watch Life of Brian? Yeah. Hang on a second. We're just got to finish this.
Help! Let me out, Freddie. It's 14 episodes of Firefly.
It's completely soundproofed in here. You're fine. You'll be okay.
No surprise. You would be my Dexter of choice for sure.
I just don't want you to hear what the predictions are. Who just ruined this. Yeah, for the first time that you watch this, for the first time that you're ever going to watch any Monty Python, I think Holy Grail would ease you in more.
Yeah, agreed.
Life of Brian is. Yeah, I'm just thinking of the stoning scene and even the very beginning of it, where it's like, sell you a beard, and she's carrying a donkey. She's like, I can't go to a stoning. He's sick again, and it's just so weird. So
and the same characters playing all the same actors playing all the different characters.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I see John Cleese in like four different characters.
I'll
So
be interested to see if he thinks this is better or worse than Fellowship. Obviously, a very different genre, so that will be cool to see. I'll be interested to see what he thinks on that.
yeah. Cool.
All
Well, yeah,
right.
we'll
Let's go.
let's gonna have to get out of the comfy chairs, get back into the shop. We'll go in, we'll put it on, and we'll be laughing throughout a different scene, or at least I will. I don't know what you think of it, but
you may well be.
Do I do a prediction for what you're gonna think of it?
Like
do you remember? Do you like it?
I remember. I'm not really a big Monty Python fan, so I don't really think I'll find it that funny. Whether I think I'll probably have just because it's, as we said, we have so much heritage if it was always on. So I think it will be nice sort of reminiscing memories of it being on, but I don't know if I'll be interested to see if I do like it or not. I mean, my taste might have changed, so it would be interesting. But now that you just said John Cleese is like annoyed that he's struggling with no money, that's soured it quite significantly for me. No,
don't let the artist get in the way of the art.
The craft. Yeah. So I don't know. Cool. I'm interested to watch it. I haven't watched it for a long time.
Yeah,
so
it's been a while. Yeah. Cool. Okay. Yeah. Well, we'll put it on and see you after they jump.
Gone with LOL.
Wow.
Because,
nice.
But not
generous.
Well, it's more like because when you text someone LOL, all you really do is kind of.
Yeah.
And that was my reaction. I didn't actually laugh out loud, but like the text, it's just a little breath is let out of humor. So I think that perfectly describes my experience.
Wow. I'm surprised. I thought you were going to absolutely hate it. So, because it is a very bizarre film, and it's almost like a comedy sketches just pieced together.
Yeah.
And so was weird. Did it feel like, because you've not had any exposure to Monty Python at all, did it just feel really surreal, or did it feel okay?
It felt really stupid, and it was so obviously just a bunch of skits put together. There were some jokes that were all right, and I was like, that's kind of funny, but I would not. There's no universe where I say that's hilarious.
So you wouldn't put it on your top 1,000 films?
No, not in the slightest. I kind of start a lot funnier than once I started getting into the story. I thought the start was funnier.
Yeah, okay.
And then it just became the same thing over and over again. It's just all the version. That's literally the entire thing. Is they make you think one thing and then and this is how we do it. Yeah. So it gets quite.
If it's just me and Kev, this is where I gaslight him and say, "Oh, maybe you just didn't get it." But I won't do that to you. So
yeah. So
you're not running out to watch Holy Grail and Meaning of Life
that won't be
straight after this.
Yeah. It is. I mean, I must admit, I could remember a lot of it, and there were some gags in it. I was just like, I can't believe they're playing this gag out for so long. Like the scene with Biggest Dickest, I was like,
oh my god,
that just went off for so long. I'm like, guys, got it. We got the joke. Move on. Andy, how bad is that?
Stutter thing.
Yeah, like this is the bubble that I'm worried about, Freddie. Is that this is what humor I think was when we were younger, and somehow we found this funny. Now I'm worried. What has happened?
How this is above, like, not even the Lord of the Rings is better than this.
Oh,
how is this below that?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah,
this list
because this has been around for literally 45 years, and is still getting talked about, and is still. I thought it was funny. There were points when I laughed out loud.
Wow! Look at you.
I will say that. I do think it is one that. Yeah, I do think it is one that you have to watch multiple times to see some of the layers, which is interesting because I know that the youths don't like watching things multiple times unless it's a 15-second
I'm just gonna
video.
Just interject here. Get ready, Freddie. This is where we'll gaslight you. Get ready. Yeah.
I thought more it's a film to watch drunk, and you might find it slightly funnier. That feels like
I think
if you were drunk, it's a lot
or
funnier.
high. I think if you were high, this would probably be all right.
I think if you're high, you'd be all over the shop. This is it's too surreal
Take
for
us
that.
through the levels then, Andy. Come on. I think I only found one, and that was average mediocre gags. So what was I missing?
Oh, I think that, as I say, with this compared to Holy Grail and definitely Meaning of Life.
Yeah.
If you watch Meaning of Life, it's completely just kind of gag after gag. But this does have levels, because obviously it's making fun of the religion, not actually kind of Christianity. And this is sort of something that Monty Python talked a lot about, the fact that Jesus is a character in it and is played very straight, and they don't actually mock Jesus or Christianity at all. What they're mocking is people just kind of following it, not really listening to what's being said. And then also just the kind of the schisms and the, people just taking what someone said and then believing what they want to believe about it. I mean, I think you talk about sort of, Trump and echo chambers and stuff like that. And I think this still shows that, I think, in such a great way, in such a relevant way, even, as soon as he sort of, when he's doing the preaching and he's talking to the people in the crowd and they're just having a go at him back. I mean, that felt like every internet argument that I've ever been witness to. And then he just sort of walks off. And then they're straight away, they're like, oh, well, you've got to follow the gourd, or you've got to follow the sandal. And then they're like, oh, well, no, actually, it's not about discarding one sandal. It's about holding the sandal up, even though he never did that. And then they start having arguments about, what the religion actually is and what he meant and everything like that. And people just, no matter what he says, they just want to believe what they want to believe, right? You're all individuals. I'm not. So I think that's still, for me, got legs, which is also with kind of the Judeans People Front and the People's Front of Judea and the Popular Front, and the fact that they all hate each other more than they actually hate the Romans, which, at the time, it was because there was a lot of left-wing groups that all hated each other more than they actually hated the Conservatives, so they couldn't kind of get themselves together. But I think that's still sort of is really relevant. That actually people who believe basically the same thing then actually dislike people who just slightly disagree with them, rather than the people who don't believe in anything. And I think you can see that still in politics, probably a lot more than religion now, because obviously religion just isn't as central to the UK as it used to be. So I still think it's got legs.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm interested to hear more from Freddie about what even getting through it, was it a bit of a chore, or did it feel like, or did you actually enjoy it? And did you get the many levels that Andy's just mansplained to us?
I don't know if there were many levels to it. It seemed very surface level. It seemed quite simple. It wasn't hard to get through. It was just like, it just kind of just became something almost background noise. It was just like, okay, I know, I can kind of tell. And as you say, some of the jokes just went on, like the whole stuttering thing just went on and on and on. And it was like, it's not funny anymore. It's just like, it's just not funny.
What did you think of the alien scene that just randomly pops up?
I wrote down, what the hell, why are the aliens for all of 30 seconds and never sin again or talked about it again?
Yeah. They crash the spaceship. It's just in the middle of the set, and then everyone runs past it. No one notices it.
And
and they crash exactly where they landed, which was super helpful.
At the bottom of the bottom of the tower that he was on.
That was super
random. I mean, that's the randomness. It is it is totally random. And the funny thing is that obviously this is 1979, so it would have been just after Star Wars. So actually, it's sort of funny to think, okay, well, how much sort of sci-fi would there have been? And then all of a sudden you've got it just in the middle of what is a sort of an epic kind of Spartacus Roman film. You just suddenly have the spaceship come down. and save him.
And
I think there are other ways he could have got down that tower, but if you want to go over aliens and spend all your budget on one rubbish scene, then fine.
They set it up so obviously as well, like the guy that's randomly just there doing nothing and just sort of, and then the hammer falls to the floor and you're like, oh, this is highlighting to us that this is a long way. It's like, sorry guys, we understand that. We know the depth perspective. And then aliens. And there's no words, right, during that whole bit. The aliens just come along, they have a fight, they lose, and then they crash, and you're just like, did that happen? Like, I feel like they put that in there almost as a joke to be like, will people watch this and see if it actually happened?
Try and wake you up to make sure you watch it.
Yeah.
Something a bit random. That's the creativity, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I think even with the credit scene, I'm sorry, but I think the credit scene alone, there's probably more creativity than in arguably the entire Marvel universe. So it is
the Deadpool Wolverine opening.
Very
good.
That is such a good opening scene. I love that.
Just all self-referential and just making gags on gags that happened 20 years ago.
Yeah, no, I didn't realize that. Actually, I put that down as I didn't remember there being that sort of Bond-esque type sort of opening credits, and it felt very Bondy, like
singing the song.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was was pretty good because obviously I knew what the film was about. So I was like, this is weird because it does feel like it fits at all. So
especially because the words it feels very Bond-esque and very big, but the words are basically the boy who grew into the man called Brian, and that's it, and that's why it's funny. It's because actually it's just like, and then he grew and he grew and he grew, and now he's a boy called Brian. I just thought it was really funny. It made me laugh.
That was good. Was there anything that you specifically liked then, Freddie, that you thought was good?
I thought the start was the funniest part to me. So I like when it opens and obviously they go in the barn, which you think is obviously the three wise men and Jesus, and then they do all this. And I think I wrote down that I quite like when she goes, or he goes, I guess, goes, led by the star, more like a bull. I thought that was funny actually. And then they have that whole scene, and then they leave, and then they come back and it's out. It's not actually. I thought that's quite funny actually.
Yeah, I love it where she's like, "Oh, get out of here! We bring presents." Well, why didn't you say so?
Yeah, I thought that was quite funny, and then. Yeah, the start was quite funny. And then they do the scene where they're obviously watching Jesus and they can't hear him, and I thought that was quite funny.
Yeah.
And then they just punch a woman. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't expect this. After they go back and forth on this big nose joke for
oh my God,
that entire piece, and then continue with it for the rest of the film. Yeah. It's like, there are some jokes they just cannot drop.
Yeah, the big nose, I don't remember that. I'm watching again, I was like, why are there so many big nose jokes here? And it feels, Eddie, there's a lot of films on this list that have big nose gags. I don't know what. Are you becoming a bit too Mel Gibson? Do we need?
It's funny. They reissued this when Mel brought out his Jesus film actually, just to get more money from it. But they repeat the joke. Yeah. Although I think again it's funny when he says, "Oh, have I got a big nose, Mum?" And she said, "Oh, sex. That's all you're talking about."
I also quite like the stoning scene.
Yeah,
obviously no women are allowed, and they're like, "Who said that?" It's like, "She, him." But it's quite funny. I thought that was quite funny.
Yeah, that was good. Did you have any specific, anything you specifically like this time around, Eddie?
I mean, I think the sort of the three sort of classic scenes.
Yeah.
What have the Romans ever done for us?
That's very good.
I think is obviously as a classic scene. I do think still stands up.
Yeah.
And is very funny. And the same with the haggle scene. Like don't want to haggle. That still comes up if anyone is going to any like street markets where there'd be haggling. Always look on the bright side of life. For me, was always a bit strange. That was always sort of. I mean, it's such a classic song. Yeah. Had you ever heard that song, Freddie?
I had. When they started singing, I was like, "Is this where this song's from?" I was a bit like, I don't know if this is the origin, but I had heard.
Yeah. And it is, and it always was a bit. Yeah, it was always a bit jarring. I always just remember thinking, well, like they're trying. I think they're trying to sort of say what the point of from their point of view of the film
Yeah.
is. But I think that's for me the Eric Idle character all the way through.
Yeah.
Who is like crucifixion? No, freedom. What?
Yeah.
They said I could go and live on an island somewhere. Oh, okay. Well, off you go. No, just pulling your leg. It's crucifixion.
Yeah.
I think whenever he pops up, he's quite funny, and the same in that where he's like, no, I was kidding. I'm not buying of Nazareth.
That was quite funny.
And I do also like Michael Palin in that bit where he's like, crucifixion, yes, good. Okay, over on the left, one cross each, as though anyone's going to take more than one cross. And even when they're then carrying the crosses and the guy helps out, which obviously is another Bible story.
Yeah.
And the guy behind him is just like, oh, he's had you there, hasn't he?
Yeah, that's a good scene.
That's that was those scenes. I think the prisoner who keeps saying about how lucky he is, I think is also an interesting one, because obviously that is like someone who's very sort of right wing, but has obviously like almost come afoul of the system, but then still supports it. So he's still like, oh, well, it's good that they're locking me up upside down. Like, that's the only way you can keep order. And he's just obviously he's being tortured, but he still sort of believes that this is the right thing to do, which I think is is just quite funny as well.
I like that. And one thing we mentioned in the first half was about the actors, Freddie. Like, did you actually, once you saw their actual faces, did you recognize any of them?
No.
I guess they are a bit sort of, because I was thinking they are a bit hidden at times. I guess maybe when they're in the Judea front, you can see them.
The people's front of Judea. Anyway, we won't carry on the gag.
I was waiting for
it. I think John Cleese is probably still the most recognizable. So if you didn't recognize him, I don't think you'd recognize any of the others. Although it's funny because obviously, like, after this we had a fish called Wanda and stuff like that as well, right? So I think one of the other, obviously it is the greatest Latin joke in cinema when he's doing the graffiti. There's not many other Latin grammatical jokes for it to compete against, but I do always think that's funny. People called Romanus, they go into the house, and then he gets into conjugate all of the different verbs and stuff. That always makes me laugh.
That was good. There were some good scenes in it, and I think like they obviously even though it's a lot of skits, as you were saying, Freddie, like there is a story that comes through, that threads through the whole film, as opposed to, as you're saying, Andy, like when you think about the Monty Python Flying Circus, the TV show, that, I mean, not the TV show, so it is just skits and it's very disjointed, and it's, like I said, now for something completely different. Whereas this, at least there is sort of a story that threads through it, and there were some very good scenes. But just, I think the scenes that were bad, just like, I think, as you were saying, they just dragged a bit, didn't they? Like you got the gag, and then it's like, oh no, we just got to hear the gag another 4 times, and you're like, oh. I think other than that, you're right. There are quite good. There are some good scenes, and there's a lot of like well-known, like you're saying, the classic ones that we know. Well, were there any scenes in there, Freddie, that you've heard of, and you're like, that's from Life of Brian, or did you not recognize any of it?
Not really. There was the when they're at the stadium watching a fight, and it's like, I want to be Loretta. It's like, well, why do you want to be Loretta? That felt familiar, but otherwise, not really. That was probably the only one. And obviously, the song at the end, I kind of remembered. I didn't realize.
I mean, 1979, talking about trans rights is
very
a little bit ahead of its time. I'm not sure that it stands up now, but still, like, But 1979, it's it's not doing badly. I do love it when they're in the stadium as well. And again, just briefly, so all of the things that he's saying, like Jaguar earlobe and stuff, those all were snacks.
Really?
So that's the thing. They did their research, like, and all of that was actually true. That is the type of thing that Romans would
noses eat. Or something.
Yeah. So those are all delicacies that they would actually serve. And then I do love it when they're like, oh, if you want to join, you have to really hate them. And he says, oh, I do. How much? He says, a lot.
Yeah.
Right, you in?
Yeah.
and that's the only test.
Yeah.
And then he's allowed in.
Yeah.
The film sounds a lot funnier when we re-talk about it. It's a lot funnier referencing those lines than when they actually happened. Because I was like, yeah, when you retell it, it's like, oh, yeah, it was funny.
This is what Andy
That was
does.
funny.
He
Well,
always convinces me these films are good, and I'm like, I watched it, and I'm sure it was terrible.
I think it's just the way that we tell jokes well. We tell jokes better.
Yeah, that's true.
We bring humor. We're more humorous than Monty Python. I think that's a bold claim. I don't think that will even start a fight on Twitter. People will just be like, "What?"
No, stop.
Yeah, no. I think the thing is, and again, I could quote most of the film when it comes in. So I do think you have that anticipation of sort of having watched it, because as you said, Kev, before, like this was you had a few videos.
Yeah.
Or it was always just the same four films on TV. So we just didn't have the choice of other films. And I think we've spoken about it before, Freddie, haven't we, about like what's the most times you've seen the same film. And you've sort of said like, maybe sort of under 10 times for some of the Marvel ones that you like, but there's not films that you've seen like more than that over and over again, because why would you? Frankly, because you've got you've got like a choice. Yeah. But that's the thing. Like, and I do think I do think it is interesting whether content now, because I do think there are films, and I would put Monty Python in there, where they do better on repeat viewing. There's actually, I do think that almost when you take out the sort of wanting to know what happens or kind of getting to the end, and then you can rewatch the scenes and sort of see that. I honestly do think that with film, especially more so than maybe like reading books or anything like that, like some films get better on the rewatch and watching it kind of over a few times. And so, I think it's interesting that that's now not something that people would do, because there is so many. So I do think it changes the type of films that you want, because you have to make that kind of impact the first time, rather than, this, people are going to watch it at the cinema and then probably, watch it on DVD a couple of times, and then they might buy the DVD and kind of, watch it over and over again. I think it does. It just does change. I mean, I'm not with no value judgment. Like, it does just change. I think the types of movies that get made and how you tell a story, right? If you think, well, people are going to watch this once and that's it, rather than, okay, this is going to be on TV every Saturday night for the next 6 months.
Do you think that means it pushes the creativity a bit more, or do you think it's worse? And do you think it's like that? Well, you have to think about, you have to be more creative to be actually creating a film that people are going to watch and stay watching, because you're right, if it comes out on Netflix, you could just turn off and go on to something else. So do you think it creates that more creativity, or, do people just sandbag and go, well, we know that Planet of the Apes works, so let's just make Planet of the Apes 57 and then just keep going? Or a bit of both?
I don't know. I don't think, I'm not sure that I could say one way is more creative than the other, but I think even now, and funny enough, obviously doing this and watching films that we've seen, or I've seen multiple times, you do notice things every time. Like, one of the categories is things you notice this time compared to other times. And you're like, and I've watched some of these films probably 50 plus times, and I'm still noticing stuff. So I do think that, like, and maybe it's still true of films now, how much do you actually notice of a film the first time that you watch it? Because you are kind of invested in the plot, and there are going to be things going on in the background that, maybe a director has spent, 4 weeks setting up a sight gag that no one sees on the first time. And then, you're going to have to go back. And, for anything, I think when there's lots of stuff going on, if you have a scene that has more than 4 people in it, then obviously, like, the other people are doing something that might be funny, might be significant, might not be, but we'll bring something else. So I do. Yeah, I think it's interesting, especially with comedy, where
comedies,
if it is just a one-off, a one and done, then it's harder. But this, as with Airplane, it's, you know, there's lots of gags, but there's still gags that you kind of, I don't know, still gags that make me laugh now, even having watched it multiple times.
I feel like you're just showing your age now, Andy. This is getting worse and worse. Well, you're going to get cancelled for this podcast.
I mean, I am my age. I don't really want to be. That's fine. I don't want to be anything other than my age, so it's fine.
Do you think that, luckily, it's not really affected your favourite genre of romance?
I mean, there's still a romance in here, right?
I don't know how they got romance in there.
Were you fixated on that? You were like, this is basically all about the romance. I remember that when she comes out naked as well, just the look on the mum's face is still just so funny. She's just like, and he's like, oh, mum, Judith, mum.
Yeah.
And even though the mum obviously, when the Roman soldier's there, and she's like, oh, morning, officer.
Yeah. Well,
that's a base gag. But that's still funny.
Yeah. What about, even though there were aliens in this, how did you describe this, Freddie, to the aliens?
I put, we had a second martyr. Also, see what happens when you pick us up, because obviously they pick us up and they crash, so they should be worried.
Yeah. They get slowed down.
Yeah, we're bad luck. Just don't pick us up.
Yeah.
What about you, Andy?
I just thought it'd need way more than 30 words to explain this film to them. I was just like, I think they're just going to have to watch it. I've got nothing to help.
I wonder if this would be on their list, because it's like, they're like, oh yeah, remember like that Dave and Frank are in this. Can someone go and watch this? They're in the ship. Yeah.
I'd love to describe it as like an alien movie, much the same with Tree of Life being described as a dinosaur movie, just to be like, oh, Life of Brian. Oh yeah, that's the one with the aliens. And then just let someone watch it and be like, oh, I went into that thinking it was going to be an aliens movie. What are you talking about?
We should definitely do that. We should have set Freddie up like that. That would have been interesting.
Yeah. So there's an alien. The aliens in it aren't that great, but apart from that, it stands up.
Yeah. Was there anything you think that the film sort of asked or answered? I mean, I know obviously there's a few pieces, it dodges around sort of religion. Do you think it sort of pushes into that area?
Yeah, I think it's still, I mean, obviously at the time it was super controversial because of the religion thing, which I think, they quite rightly defended, that they're not having a go at Christianity, they're having a go at religion. Yeah. And like the pointlessness of disagreeing on like very fine details. It may well have sort of colored my view of religion, but like part of my view of religion is that you read the sort of any of the holy books and they're all brilliant, and you think, oh yeah, that really makes sense. And then at some stage it's like, oh, and everyone called Jeff, you should give money to them. And you're just a bit like, wait, what? Oh yeah, no, that just came out. That was just written by this saint. Oh, was it Saint Jeff? Was it? Because I think you see everything, and then at some stage you can see the bit that was clearly just written by humans that have just like tried to put themselves in. Whether it's giving money to the church or whether it's the priests are extra special and should be above the law. And you're a bit like, why would a god want these people to be extra special? I'm not sure why would surely they would want everyone to be special, because they wouldn't really care. So I think it's still got something interesting to say about what you believe and how easily you believe it and how much you think for yourself. I think is what they were trying to say. And I think I think now more than as much as ever, people thinking for themselves is in short demand, right? Everyone.
It's impossible, isn't it? We are now robots to think for us, so we don't even have to think about anything.
Exactly, yeah. People give their thinking away because it's easier and the more comfortable thing to do. So
I can see you doing a TED talk on this soon, Andy. It's building. It is building. What about you, Freddie? Did you have anything on this?
Anything else? Any questions from you guys apart from why is this funny and regularly voted the funniest film of all time?
Regularly
only
voted.
because
Jesus.
that's because basically boomers are retired and they're the only ones that vote for the polls. Everyone else is working and doesn't have time.
Yeah, there's 2 votes every year.
Yeah.
Uncle
Andy
Andrew and
and
my
Rob.
dad. Yeah. Every year it's them
Excellent.
2 voting.
Get together, they have their anniversary, they show you. Nice. Was there any genre you thought you could change this to, Freddie?
No. This is a
No.
very one track
Yeah.
film with hitting just the low hanging fruit. There's no other
Yeah.
genre.
What about you, Andy? Anything you thought of?
I thought it would be interesting to do it in modern times and do it around internet and modern culture.
Yeah, okay.
And like the people following everything and everyone sharing the same content. And I think it would be super interesting, which is that, like, where is almost the self-reflection on, like, almost the satire. And I know that there was sort of this big thing, wasn't there, with obviously Boris over here and Trump in the US, that like, oh, well, we're beyond satire now. But like, I think that's important to hold a mirror up to the society and just like, make fun of, frankly, and laugh at some of the absurdities of the way that you live your life. And then I don't see that at the moment. Maybe I'm not looking in the right places. And any listeners, please write in if you think that there were comedians who are doing this. We won't put it all on Freddie to speak for his generation, but like, I think you could do something like this now and sort of, based on the internet and just modern, super connected.
It's one of those things, isn't it? It's a double-edged sword, because obviously, comedians that I'm sure would be like, well, that's ridiculous. We can't get away with anything now. Like, everything gets taken out of context. But equally, they become a lot more famous, a lot bigger, a lot quicker. So it's that double-edged sword. And it's like the fame thing, isn't it? Of like, actors don't want, normal people, or just like, Joe Blogs coming up to them and asking for a photo or an autograph. They just want to have a normal day and just be a normal person. It's like, well, yeah, but you've also been paid millions of dollars to not be a normal person. So it's like, it's kind of like, you can't have everything, it's so,
this very problem was on Andy and the Odd Socks this morning, watching with Poppy. So like, already the big TV shows of our times are addressing these issues.
Yeah, there we are. Look, how metro are we? Like, we're talking about stuff that's like, you're right at the cutting edge.
Yeah, heroes wearing masks, but it's just a TV. It's just a kids' TV show, so it doesn't really.
Should we attempt that at the next podcast?
What was there anything for you that you would swap out to improve it, Kev?
The only thing I thought you could do is you could have done it as a musical, because it's it's almost partly there anyway. And so they are that sort of more musically inclined as well, and obviously they have the song at the end. So I kind of thought you could do it as a bit of a musical, but I mean, it's hard to say what you would swap out, because it is, to your point, Andy, it's like, it's kind of it's almost like I guess like an antique, if you think from a tangible perspective, in that it is what it is. It is from its time, and it was representative of something different then. Like, so you can't really, I think, just take it and try and modernize it. It's like an antique vase. No, you just have to create a different vase that's newer and different now. So I don't think you can necessarily change much about it. It just is what it is. And you either like it and watch it millions of times like you do, Andy, or like me and Freddie, you watch it once and you forget about it and move up the list again.
They have an interesting relationship with music, though, don't they? Because in all of the films, there's like one song moment. Obviously, it's because Eric Idle is a very talented musician and like hung out with everyone. Did you spot George Harrison in the film?
No, who was he?
He was the guy who was going to let them have the Mount on Saturday week. The story of it goes actually that they lost funding just before they were going to start filming. And basically, Eric Idle was friends with the Beatles and all of the musicians at the time. So George Harrison basically gave them, I think, £2 million to go and film the film. And he said because he just wanted to see the film, he just wanted to see the film be made, and he wanted to see the film. Yeah. So they sort of said that was the most expensive cinema ticket of all time. So so he had a little cameo. As did Spike Milligan, which I didn't realize, but he's actually
talking about him.
Yeah, he's actually in it very briefly. He's the guy as they all run past him when they've got the gourd and the slipper for the first time, and he's the one who's like,
Yeah,
"Wait, let's think," and then he just sort of
yeah.
wanders off.
And everyone, yeah.
Yeah,
There you go.
That's-
Nice
yeah,
little
that was quite
cameos.
random. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Which character did you think you were most like, or you'd most want to be, Fred?
I'm the guy in the back when they're like, everyone would die for us, and I'm the guy that goes, not me. I don't want to die. That's who I am.
There's a lot. There's a lot of it
Classic
with
Gen Z.
Yeah.
Sitting at the back, doing nothing.
We're all willing to give our life. I'm not. But I think it's also very funny where they say, well, we'll all be going there, apart from Stan, who's not having any revolutionary acts because he's of his bad back.
That would be
Like-
Dad.
You're not coming with us. Oh, no, solidarity. Oh, okay. And then he walks off. And you're like, is that solidarity? Yeah, that was good. How about you, Kev?
I had to put the man that's hanging upside down. I was like, I love these characters. He's just brilliant.
You're more
When
more
he's-
right wing than I thought. You see yourself as like the law and order ticket, do you? Oh, okay.
Well, I think he gets indoctrinated, right? I don't think he believes it, but he's like, oh yeah, I realise now. But just that scene is just great. I love that where he's like, oh, you're getting that. Oh, mate, you're getting all the good stuff. Like when he's got he's going through everything. He's like, what do you think will happen to me? Oh, probably crucifixion. It's only a first offence.
Your
And
first
you're like,
offence.
yeah.
Crucifixion, but that thing the Romans ever did for us.
Yeah. What about the
But,
lines then? Come there, we've got to get to the favourite lines.
Well, I think it's interesting with all of the crucifixion sort of stuff as well, because you have that, and then you also have the bit where they say when they're searching the house, which I also does just
Yeah.
make me laugh.
That's good.
And then they say, oh, the sentence for harboring is crucifixion. He's like, oh, okay. He's like, oh, it's nasty. Oh, it could be worse. Gets you out in the sun.
Yeah.
And I think what that's doing really well is like crucifixion at the time was it was just super, super common. Like a lot of people were crucified. And I think what it just does is like, it would almost become a bit of a joke because you would probably know someone who had been crucified, which obviously to us just sounds horrific. But like the fact is, that there were hundreds of people daily who were being crucified by the Romans. And so I think the way that it sort of plays with that joke and like making it so common, and then like having people sort of say, well, because it is supposed to be a deterrent, but obviously it's not going to be a deterrent because it's so horrific that you're not going to not do stuff because you might get crucified because, deterrents don't work anyway. But I think all the jokes about it and sort of it just being quite everyday, are quite funny and just, keep coming back.
Yeah. Was there any favourite lines that you had, Freddie?
I quite like the stuff, the like prison guards. I quite like when he's like 96. I think that's quite funny. And then also when later on they're like, the guy's talking to him and they can't get out, and it's like, that guy's mad and they can't get where Brian's gone. And then they just go, "Hey, what were you up to?" It's just
Yeah.
I do like a bit of subversion, and I thought that was done quite well.
I love it when that guy, when he's asking have they, I think it's when, have they gone? He's like, we've got lumps of it out the back. You're just like, what does that mean? Yeah, I like them. I like those two. I think it's quite fun.
I did also like when Judith obviously comes in and he's like, "You've got to go help Brian," and she's like getting really angry at them, and he just whistles. It's like, woo! I was like, oh, it's quite funny.
Yeah. The feminist one. Oh, sorry. I mean, I think, I still think the Sermon on the Mount stuff is funny. Blessed are the Greek. And what, the Greek? Why the Greek? Oh no, apparently blessed are the meek. Oh, well, that's good. They have a rough time of it. I think is a great one. I like the callback to the what have Romans ever done for us when they're at the crucifixion scene, and they say like they're referencing his brave fight against getting the Romans out, excluding those involved in drainage, road, medicine, or education. There's a little callback to actually some of the Romans are all right, which does just make me laugh again. Yeah, not many 3-star reviews actually.
All
all lower.
Yeah. No, mostly higher, but like not many 3-star reviews with writing. Someone said, which I thought was very apt, both kids declared they were bored, but hung on until the end to join in with Always Look on the Bright Side of Life. So, when you know the song's coming, people, even the kids are sticking around. This is a very good film, but I'm afraid it's not my cup of tea.
Okay.
But it starts strongly and then kind of fades away. Someone said, I give it 3 stars because I'm satisfied with my order, but my parents think it was really bad giving a 12-year-old a 15 rating DVD. So I kind of, I wondered what had happened there. That like, so they gave it 3 stars because their parents didn't think that they should be able to be sent a 15 rated DVD for a 12-year-old, presumably, on Amazon. So you're just like, but you must have used their account. So I don't think that's, whose fault is that? I'm not sure. I would give those parents a 3-star review because clearly they were a bit late to the show. If they're letting their 12-year-old get 15 rated DVDs, but then thinking badly of it, I think you've got to get in there a bit more. And also letting that 12-year-old write reviews. Why is that 12-year-old writing reviews?
But does it not make you think, Andy, that if the film was a bit more interesting, they wouldn't be writing these sort of reviews?
There's lots of 5-star reviews, but those would be boring to read.
Exactly.
What about the algo then? Taking out any of the other Monty Python movies, because obviously that's just cheating.
Yeah. I think this one, it's difficult because you're like, do you try and find a similar film that sort of mocks religion, or is it just sort of a surreal film or like a comedy film? So I don't know. I was trying to think of other ones here. I don't know. I was thinking of maybe Dogma. I don't know if you've seen that. That was one that I thought of, or
I just bought that on DVD at a charity shop. You can't buy it anywhere, and obviously nowhere will stream it. So, just got that DVD. It's actually quite a rare DVD these days.
Oh, there you go. Look at it. Yeah. Well, that was. I mean, maybe I'm trying to think of other surreal ones. Maybe like being John Malkovich, but it's very, very difficult other than the other Monty Python films because they're so unique, right? Like they're such a specific style. So I sort of struggled with this, but did you come up with anything, Freddie?
No, this felt like a very one in its own film. The only film, anything slightly similar that I just basically, to me, it was like, this is just another stupid comedy. Is Kenny, which my dad made me watch about a year or two ago, and that's just another stupid comedy. It has a couple of funny lines, but it's just stupid.
Not high on the world's funniest list either, Kenny. That's it's a bit more obscure. Well, it's funny because the AI kind of went for all of those categories that you were talking about, Kev. So it put like Dogma and Book of Clarence, which is another one. It then went for Borat and The Invention of Lying.
I didn't think about that.
Which is sort of like a sort of a straight not straight like comedy. It then went for Year One, because obviously that's set with Michael Cera and Jack Black. It's an awful movie, but it's just set like at the same time. And then finished with The Last Temptation of Christ. So actually like saying, can you imagine saying, oh, I really liked Last Temptation of Christ. Oh, you probably like Life of Brian then.
There's this great alien film you're going to love. Yeah.
No one put aliens or Star Wars in it. But I felt like the AI might actually get that one just for like including all of the different types of films that it's like
covering them off.
That almost if you took a Venn diagram of all of those, in the middle may well be Life of Brian. So
fair enough.
I was going to give that to the algo, which means that
catching up
23 to 19 to us still, to the humans.
They're catching up though, right? It's getting. We're gonna have to have a good run again.
AI is just getting getting better and better. That's the problem.
Well, which is good news.
You're just
So-
saying that for the AI overlords if they ever
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, just
ingest our
remember,
podcast.
yeah, I
Kev was
would love
always
a
fan.
free, yeah, I
Well,
would
it'd be
love
nice
a free pro subscription to ChatGPT. So that
If
would be
AI is
great.
figuring out our humour is this slow, then I think it's going to quite easily. Go, okay, we can just get them to follow one idiot, and we can take them all over.
I love how
true, so
dismissive you
true.
are of one of the most creative comedy troupes of all time. It's, yeah, they don't know what they're doing.
So then, Andy, it's number 55 on the list. What's the plan? Is it staying where it is? Is it moving up the list?
No, I think 55 feels like a nice place to have it. Yeah, no, it's still for me. It's still, having watched it a lot of times, still funny.
Yeah.
There were still parts, even knowing the script almost by heart, that I laughed. I do think that I still think it's got stuff to say, and works on that kind of like religious as well as everything else. So I'm going to keep it at 55.
I think this might be the first time we've kept the film exactly where you originally had it.
No, it's not.
No?
There's tons of them.
There's times where you've
Have you
not
been
moved
around?
them.
Have you been around this long, Kev? Have you done many of these?
Well, I thought Annie was putting more effort into this rescoring. I didn't realise he was just like phoning it in.
Took me
keep that one there.
Took me years to come up with this list and think about how everything.
I'm trying to think. Kev's the guest on this.
Kev can't remember most of the films, so it's not like he can remember podcasts. No, Fellowship of the Ring actually stayed at the same place. Philadelphia stayed at the same place. Yojimbo, no, there's quite a few.
I'm gonna check this because there was a lot of debate about up the list versus down the list, which there was some gaslighting going on there. So I'm gonna check this and we'll come back to it.
How about you then? Kev, obviously, been on a bit of a run recently. Like it's still getting over how poor you thought of Serenity. Obviously, Fred should have been a guest on that one, so you could.
That would have been great.
We'll never know what I think.
Not watched it. Yeah, I put it in the OK section, 34 of 46. So above Four Lions and below BMX Bandits. So,
not quite as good as BMX Bandits. That's a damning incitement of the film.
Who doesn't want to go down a flume with a bike? You're just going to struggle to do that. It's just one of those things.
That's brilliant. But Four Lions, again, actually, probably, quite similar in genre, right? Just of that, like, what religion makes you do. And, obviously you hadn't thought of this before doing this, because clearly Four Lions would be the perfect. That would have, if you would have said Four Lions, that would have beaten the algo. Kev.
It's not a comedy though, right? Like it's not a comedy at all.
Four Lions is.
I don't know what. Yeah, I guess maybe. Yeah, good.
It's not
black
straight
comedy,
film, is it? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, it is a comedy. Oh.
Yeah.
This is now. If at the end of the list they beat us by one, and we fear that the AI are going to take over, we'll always be talking about the fact that Kev didn't literally read the movie after this one in his list.
I did read it. Obviously, I put it in there, but I'm like, fine. I've done Life of Brian. I don't want to watch this again. What's next? I'm always moving forward.
That's why the AI will kill us all.
They know that I'm their fan. That's all that matters. So.
You've already switched sides. Cool. Well, there we go. Life of Brian. Thank you very much for coming down. We'll be writing your work experience review and sending it on to your dad shortly. So expect feedback for next week. Another classic. The quote is, "Oh, that's not fair. You say that so often. I wonder what your basis for comparison is." We'll see. We'll see who knows that from next week. And it's a film a good 10 years younger than this one, but not that much.
Yeah, okay.
So, thank you very much. And we'll see you next week.